So all that to say, everything out of the box, because I've already made a template, is just going to sound phenomenal. I haven't made an official template ever since I made this, or built this new PC and got all situated within Nuendo, which is my new favorite DAW for game audio. But when I say template, I basically just stole this from another project. I just imported it from another project, and everything is already routed as I like it to be leveled and balanced. So you'll notice in my, I could probably make an entire video about this. If you'd like a video about this, please let me know, and I'd be happy to do that. But basically the idea of building an orchestral template that represents live players. No synthesizers, no effects, no delays, just straight up symphony orchestra. So what that means is we have the brass section up top, woodwinds, strings, choir, percussion. Right there in the middle, we have piano and harp before the timpani and then everything else. And they're color-coded, and they're also routed. So what that means is each instrument group over here in my mixer is routed to an aux channel right here. So winds, brass, strings, perc, and each of those has a different send amount, and it looks like it didn't transfer over. Oh man, it's okay. I'll actually show you right now how I do that. I can do it really fast. If I go over here, the Q link, it just means multiple things are going to happen at once. So every track selected will do this. Go to my sends. I'm going to do my TomTom Studio. Let's set them all to -25 dB, which is a real live recording of my favorite hall, which is the Budapest Symphony Orchestra. I record them lots of times a year. And so I just finally said, hey, let's just stink and record our own reverb, our own impulse response, so that whenever I record sample instruments, I can just run it through the actual hall that I intend to record at, which is super nice and helpful. So that's the first thing I do, and they're all going to be equal because they're all in the same room. I don't want to change those. But Aether is my favorite orchestral hall reverb, and it looks like they're semi-set. They might actually already be set. Yeah, they are. So you'll see right here, winds are -17, brass -15, strings -25, and perc -40. So all this means is I have, kind of by ear, there's really no calculation here, but by ear, I've set my perc to be the furthest away reverb, so it's going to have the most reverb. And then down here, strings, I'm sorry, I said the opposite. It's going to have the least amount of reverb because it's the furthest away. It doesn't need it. And then all the way down to strings, which is kind of in the middle because they are the closest, but they're very dry. They tend to need more reverb. And then brass is kind of medium, winds is medium. So, you know, everyone's got to do this with their own ear. But what this means is when I start playing, and let me make sure real quick. One more thing I forgot to show you. Up here, if I select, for example, all of my strings in my mixer right here, and if I have Q-Link on, I can change the output of all of them to be the strings aux. And now what that means is every single one of my string instruments is automatically routed to the strings aux, which means they all have the same amount of reverb, and therefore they will all sound balanced. And by doing this with each of the instrument groups, it has allowed me to create an incredibly simple and streamlined palette that sounds amazing the first note that I play. So just a quick little example, and then we'll actually write some music today. I'm a very simple composer when it comes to writing music. I like to have a short sound and a legato sound for every instrument. That's going to be my orchestra. And I also like to choose patches that represent the actual balance of what I'm going to be recording. So for example, trumpets, I want 4 trumpets. I don't need 16 trumpets or anything insane like that. It will sound unbalanced. A real ensemble, I wouldn't do that. I would have 4 trumpets. I like to have 6 horns. I like to have 3 trombones, one of which can double as a bass trombone. So I actually put 0-1. Trombones is 2-3. So depending on if there's a bass trombone. Tuba, there's one of them. Piccolo, same thing. So I have 3 flutes. I have 3 of each woodwind, 3 flutes, 3 oboes, 3 clarinets, 3 bassoons, which means piccolo can be doubled with the flute player, but as soon as you use the piccolo, you're now losing a flute player. So I like to visually have a reference so that I can see what's being used and what's not. Same thing with the strings. I like to use 34 strings. That means 18 violins, which is 10 and 8. So first have 10, seconds have 8. So what do I do to mimic that? Well, if I have it, I'm going to choose a violin 2 patch, which typically sounds slightly weaker than violin 1's, but violin 1, I'm going to, in my mix, actually make it slightly louder than the violin 2's. That's one of the things that you can do that. Violas, I like to have 6. Cellos, I like to have 6. Double bass, I like to have 4. And then choir, I like to have 20 women, 20 men. So that's an even split of 40, 10 to 10. So that means 10. I'm talking so much, but I hope this is helpful, guys. I like to have 10 sopranos, 10 altos. And then in the men, I like to have 10 tenors, 10 basses. And then everything else is sample instruments usually, because I don't typically record live piano, harp, timpani, clock, xylophone, marimba, cymbals, orc chime, snare. Not because they don't sound good in live, but they drown out everything else. And you can't really mix super well in post. And you end up eating a lot of money recording again because the cymbal crash came in 1 millisecond late and now the whole take is ruined, right? So that's the kind of stuff that sample instruments can mitigate very easily and save you a heck of a lot of money without having to have a perk session as well. But you can. Anyway, wow. So all that to say, everything out of the box, because I've already made a template, is just going to sound phenomenal. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you'd like to learn more about how to support your family composing music for video games, TV, and film, well, then I suggest you check out my free audiobook. All you have to do is go to the link in the description below, and this is a $13 value, and you can actually grab that for free today. You can listen through Family First Composer, which is my #1 Amazon best-selling book, and I hope that that is a huge blessing to you and your family. Hope you enjoy that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.